Commissioner Altman,
Here.
Commissioner Cockfield,
Here.
Commissioner Deal,
Yes.
Commissioner Houston, Commissioner McCullough, and Commissioner Moore.
Present.
Commissioner McCullough says that he's going to be here about 4:30. He's on his way from work. Okay, so I need to release the invocation followed by the pledge by Chief.
Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, power, and glory forever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank y'all. Y'all please forgive me. I was working in the attic and I'm a little bit dirty here. I know I might stink a little bit. Okay, so we're moving into this, what we're here for is discussion of ladder truck purchase. Chief Huffman, got Mr. Starlin here. And
Mayor, I was going to ask if we could allow Mr. Starlin to come and talk about the ISO information, and then we'll go into the actual discussion around the different styles of trucks and everything of that nature. If
Sure.
that fits the board, please.
Thank you for allowing me to be here today. My name is Skip Starling. I'm with the National Fire Services Office, and I guess we've worked with y'all for probably about, well, within the entire community, probably 15, 20 years. And our goal is to try to help fire departments make better decisions as far as equipment they need, personnel, apparatus, those type things. And what it equates, and the reason they asked me to bring this up is to kind of explain this process for anybody that's new to the table on this and might not understand how the ISO program works. ISO is a 4-credit program. Depending on what you do and how you follow this along is depending on whether you get credit. The credit is designed to where the more you are doing what they see as a need for the community to have proper fire protection, then the less your insurance costs.
who is they?
Insurance Services Office.
Is that a private company?
It is. And they're a for-profit company who work for the insurance industry, but they control the insurance for every insurance provider across America, including State Farm. A lot of people are misunderstanding basically that State Farm uses a program called Subzone. I helped them design it. And Subzone makes it to where it changes slightly because I can use different fire departments by their zip code on which one we're able to pick out within the 5-mile region. But they all use, when you do your PPC test, everybody, including State Farm, changes their rates accordingly, depending on how well you do. The program is designed so you have the right to do the best or the worst. And I say that because it's strictly a program that's voluntary. If you do it or not, it's up to y'all. The benefit is 100% back to your the citizens or the businesses, but it's y'all's decision to decide what type of level do you want to participate. A 1 or basically a 10 through a 4 is for residents. It's kind of like golf game. The better you're doing, the lower your score. So the lower and lower you do your score, then the more discounts people are allowed to get on their insurance. These discounts have huge effects because on the business, the 1, 2, and 3 is strictly designed for business. It has nothing to do with the residential side, but it's the beginning benchmark where businesses can really appreciate massive savings. So let's put it in real dollars. We worked in a program not too far from here over in Douglas called Premium Peanut. 13% of all the peanuts in the world go through Premium Peanut. Premium Peanut had a fire. Their insurance changed from $200,000 a year to $875,000 a year. We worked with the local fire department there, which is Coffee County Fire Department. We worked with Premium Peanut. We helped them do some things where we actually brought in our excavators and our bulldozers and all these things that we made their pond bigger where it could be certified and made it where they had more water available and all these different things. And their insurance dropped from $875,000 to $275,000. That's how huge a difference these scores can make. All because the PPC was now available to get a better discount. And so their insurance dropped drastically. And so anyway, that's, and we have businesses all over the country that hire us just to help them because it affects them so much. But it all starts with the fire department. Nobody can take the test but the fire department.
So I'd never heard that before. That's interesting information. So I knew that 3 was big on commercial, made a lot more difference to commercial, more different. But you're saying that if we go from a 4 to a 1, it would make no difference to the residents?
No, you're not. That is not designed for that. In other words, once you've done 4, and that's always your goal was originally to try to get the residents to have the maximum yield.
Right.
But the problem is that when you look around and you see your commercial growth and you see the commercial buildings here, when the local agent would be checking off a box that you're a commercial fire department, they can't do that.
For commercial.
That's a huge thing. Now let's kind of put it into perspective. Jacksonville, Florida, one of my clients has been there for about, I guess, 15 years. We took them from a class 3 to where they're now the largest class 1 in the United States. There's nobody as big as them. They're massive area. They cover 870 square miles. The city and the county are together. They're consolidated. And so the end result is it was very important for them to try to improve their score. So now for over years and years and years, they've been enjoying this straight class 1. Their commercial, they'll tell you, has grown exponentially because all of a sudden people want to come in and do business with them when they see and feel that this number relates to how safe businesses and people feel on.
But if I was a homeowner there, when it was still a 4 and now it's a 1, mine wouldn't have changed.
No, your delivery capability is improved as far as the real world and what you deliver to the fire scene and your capabilities. But as far as the money savings benchmark stops at, yes. But now one thing that I always try to get everybody to understand, the amount of money being saved in a community, residential versus commercial, the residential is miniature compared to what the commercial is. The commercial money, they're paying massive amounts of money for their insurance. When a residential, it's true, they may be paying $1,500 or $2,200 or $3,200. But when you look at the exponential rate of how much the savings is on a commercial, which they're paying more taxes than anybody else anyway on property taxes right off the bat, and they're bringing in the businesses that are coming in and paying for your tax dollars, it's pretty easy to see that the comfort zone is to help the commercial people save the best they can because that's helping them promote and have growth. That growth then relates back to y'all by bringing in tax dollars and bringing in more revenues as far as for property tax. So
Is there a difference in the fractions in between each number? So like if you're a 4.2 versus 4.9, or is
basically how they kind of branch it into, you start out as a 10 at the bottom. That means somebody's non-certified. It means you may have a fire station there, but that doesn't mean just because you have a station that is qualified to earn the rating with ISO being a station. Now all of a sudden somebody becomes, if they have enough equipment, they have enough people, they have enough training, they become a 9. 9 to 7 range, that block is called high risk. That means if you buy insurance in any of those groups, you pay exponentially quite a bit of money because they feel that you don't have the local resources of water or whatever it is to be able to earn a discount. Then you get to the rating of a 6, 5, 4. Pretty much those basically stay about the same because that's preferred insurance. When you're in those rates, you may have a 5% difference as you're changing from the 6 to the 5 to the 4 each time you move up. But the end result is that's pretty much, if you're in that rate, you're in preferred insurance. That's why you get the best insurance if you're in there.
So if we went from a 4 to a 5 and I'm a homeowner, like my insurance, my company didn't write me anymore. They wouldn't write anymore. Anybody under 750,000, they won't write. So mine went from like 1,200, 1,300 to 4,000. But I just paid it today. That's how where it's fresh on my mind. But we always worry about going from a 4 to a 5. And I realize that may affect commercial. But you're saying it would make very little difference.
5%, but you can, the difference in if you have a 4 is that the market is wide open to you to go for the best insured and the best opportunities. Each time you change it, what people have to realize it's not just a rate in money, it's that you're limiting your market back on how many places are willing to insure you. In other words, as you go up, you open a market better to where there's more people who want to insure because the insurance companies feel more comfortable with their loss possibility. It's less, the better you do is what they feel. I kind of understand this better than most. My mother used to be one of the head claims adjusters with Cigna. I grew up in the insurance industry all my life. I came from a fire background of 30 years. And so my mother was able to kind of help me put all this together. And she's the one who got me really to reach out to communities like yourself And we do this all over the United States. And to get them to understand how important this is, because these savings are done each year. We always try to talk about how many calls you have versus the savings. The reality is, even in Jacksonville, 2% of the population has fires each year or less. So the other 98% of the people that are there, they literally don't see any direct benefit of you came to save my house. But financially, though, they're all intertwined with this, because if you have a mortgage, most mortgages, your payment is intertwined inside the premium base of when you pay your mortgage payment. The insurance is built into that. They require that to know that the house is going to be insured. And so it's a layer of a part of whatever your mortgage payment is. So if you're not keeping good rates, then your mortgage payment is higher. If you have better ISO rates, then your mortgage payment is lower. And that's pretty much how that works. There are some people like myself and you probably that we pay ours annually, but that's because my home's paid for. I mean, so I'm not into that. So yes, sir.
Is the total score based on 100 points?
105.5. And it is, they'll call it a survey. If you ask them, and it says right here, it says survey report.
Our last page.
The problem with it that I always try to get everybody to understand, a survey is something where you go up and you ask somebody, would you rather, you're in a mall and you say, would you rather have Coca-Cola or would you rather have Pepsi? That's a survey. It has no direct effect on you. You just want the person's opinion. The problem with this is this scores out. Everything has a score. My wife was in the school system for 35 years, has her doctorate in curriculum design and theory, and she found it very amusing that they always want to say, ISO, that this is a survey. And then she goes, well, why does it say inspector on your card? What are you inspecting if you're doing a survey? So they're inspecting you. This is an inspection. This is an approval from them on how you stand. Right now, we have to be honest that the way that the insurance industry looks at it is that as far as a home, they feel comfortable that homes are getting extremely good. But if you're a commercial, that you don't even click the box. You don't even fit in the first. And yet you have commercial everywhere. Y'all get so used to it, you don't notice so much. So me, that's unbiased, that doesn't see all this. And I can't move. I mean, as soon as you drive in, that's sitting at 4 stories and you don't even, I'm talking about a ground ladder. So then if you, Hinesville, I did their ISO, so I'm very familiar with what they have in equipment. So you wait on Hinesville to come help you out. And 45 minutes later, as the person's yelling, save my child, then you can finally get a ladder here. That's why your talk here today will be, because ISO has been penalizing you over and over and over. And I always try to tell everybody, and Josh had a chance to hear, I was talking with Jacksonville earlier because they got some issues that we're dealing with, opening some new stations, different things. Every community decides what rating you want to be. This is not a brand. This is not where they come in and say, well, this is what you, no, this is what you earned. Well,
See, that makes
When you-
perfect sense to me. I mean, I didn't realize this was the case. So like I own some property on St. Simons
Mhm.
and they do a fire fee down there.
Mhm.
And I'm assuming the commercial, my fire fee's relatively low compared to my property taxes. But I'm sure their commercial fire fees are through the roof. But is that why they do the fire fee as opposed to ad valorem taxes? So you can hit directly on commercial for these big ticket purchases like this?
that is something that is been tried and done. But the problem is, I have to warn you, and you may see some changes coming up on that. The fire fee is being challenged in the state of Georgia. And if you do a search on Google about fire fees, you'll see that they keep losing. And that then the communities, like the counties, end up having this huge issue because it's double taxation, because they're already getting tax money, you know what I mean, for your homeowner, for your home.
Right.
And then they're tacking that on top, calling it a fee. And the problem is that's, you can charge fees for a lot of things, but that one's losing in Georgia. It has lost multiple times over and over again. When it does, it causes the communities a huge issue because it's a double taxation. And so you may find in the future that there may be relief for you on where that will change.
A fire fee from the county, you mean?
Yes.
But there are
Well, it
some
can be from
cases-
anybody, cities or counties.
City or
But
Fee
there
can
are some
come from-
cases in like Savannah where there's some communities that basically buy coverage from another community?
Well, they used to, you'd have a situation there, and I was a fire chief back in those days of Wesley Meadows and that Southside Fire Department. And they were a private individual fire department that then they would rent out their services to the local community. And then the local community then paid for them to be a business. And then as time went on, then the county decided that they wanted to go into the business of fire. But so everybody's seeing that changes where you have to go to a totally different fee structure when you do that. It was easier for them as a individual, but the problem was the services they got from an ISO are much better now than they were before. Yes, sir.
Skip, you're very familiar with Jessup ISO, right?
Yes, sir.
Been doing it a long time.
Yep.
We work together.
Yep.
What do you think our chances of going from a 4 to a 3?
Your decision that you want to do it. And the problem is that you'll have spend money to do things, but it's money we've talked about for 10 years. And so the longer you wait to make those shifts, it just makes everything more expensive. If you bought, something 10 years ago, it's half of what it costs today. So you have no limitations to keep you from it.
Water's not?
No, your water did excellent. Matter of fact, you got penalized by ISO. We're going to talk about that when we go over the numbers. You're going to see your fire department got slammed, not because of who they are or what they do or whatever, but I mean, like on a ladder truck where it would have been 4 points, you get 0.3 because you don't have it. They just carry some extra equipment on their engines to try to do the best they can. I mean, that's what happened in 2022. And then on the training building, when you train at that building, I get 0.117 per hour that they go to that center. And we totally lose all of that because they have no facility like that, that doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a huge thing. For 18 hours of training per person there, I can get 3.1 points that's a third of the change just to go to a class 3, just by that one building, just by 18 hours. But to get 2 points on company training, which they're forced to now, they have to do 192 hours just to earn 2 points. So it's like everything's working against them. It's like instead of going for the low hanging fruit that could give you all these points, he's out there just working like a dog to try to get points out of like the company training. And yet it's the least yield you can get, but you can't get the the facility training unless you have a facility.
So you say
the 3 top things that we can do.
Or I have all of them right here.
I got it.
Before you
Number
do,
one right off the bat is,
Madam Clerk, would you recognize Commissioner McCullough in the minutes? Thank you. Go ahead.
if you'll if you look at this one right here and pull up the first page, I want to go over really quick your numbers on page 7. If you flip over page 7, you'll see right off the bat, look under item 549, halfway down the page right here on page 7.
You're gonna have to.
These are all points. See, you got hit in multiple different directions. Number one is I need to show, I guess, before anything, there's a thing down here called divergence. And divergence is where they penalize you because they feel either your water hasn't grown enough or your fire department hasn't grown enough, one or the other. And the only reason you get it is they're penalizing a community on purpose to try to get them to like, hey, you need to make these improvements. Your divergence alone was 7 points.
Yeah, I remember.
That was almost a full grade just by the divergence. Now, why did that happen? Here's what we need to explain why. Your water did 34.5 out of 40. That means that basically you did a 78%, which is very good. That's extremely good. But your fire department, because of missing things that we'll talk about in a minute, did 23 points out of 50. It was limited to where it couldn't even get to the 50% mark. So they look at the fire department and they go, I don't understand. He has personnel and things, but yet they're the things you need, like the ladder truck and the training center and these things, they're not there. So then that cost, just those 2 items cost you your 3 right off the bat. Technically, you have good enough water that you could be a 2. You don't have to be a 3, but it all depends on the effort of what y'all approve is what can happen. Every community decides what the score shall be. And I try to tell everybody that I don't tell people like, this is the number you need to be. You need to decide what number you want to be. I need to explain to you why the numbers would help, and then y'all can make that decision on which that you want to follow. But when you look at these scores, like on that 549, you get 0.36, and you could have gotten 4. When you see the difference of that 3.64 points we lost, it's more than that. It's 2 more points than that, because if we'd gotten those points, I'd have had 2 points of divergence go away. So it's 5 points, half of a grade all by itself. When you move down on the training side, well, his training is outstanding. If you look at the way it was done, I mean, it's immaculate. But the problem is if you take this thing and you switch and you go back to, let me get your page really quick. If you go on the training back to page 17, and we look at how, well, like, what are they doing? Are they, are they accomplishing their goals? Are they doing well enough? Well, when we get to page 17, there's a list of all the categories that you can gain points on. And these numbers over here where it says credit available, that's the percentage of 9 points that you can get. As you look through this thing, even on the company training, which is so hard to do because it's 192 hours, they did outstanding. They did 20 points basically out of 25. Their officers training was almost perfect. Their new driver's training was perfect. Their existing driver operator training was almost perfect. Their hazardous materials was perfect. I mean, the recruit training is perfect. The pre-fire plans are basically perfect. But so where did they reach out and tag us so hard? Because on our facilities training, the largest item of the 35% of the 9 points, which is 9.1 points, they got 0. Because we don't have it. And to ISO, this is the reason you get 0. You get 0 because they look at it like he doesn't have the tools he needs to be able to train his craft to the firefighters.
Yeah, but the question answered is that burn building? Is that
Yes.
burn building?
Burn building.
Yes.
Yes,
So
sir.
what you're saying
When we
is
say
if we-
facility, it really means that they have the opportunity, they can do smokehouse training, they can do live fire training, or they could use like for elevation to do like rappelling or whatever. It's just designed to give them a much broader, because what ISO is saying is they're saying, look, your community is more complex than the residential places. I go to places all the time. I just left one in Texas where I was there last week, and just outside of Houston, and it's a residential community. It's basically the whole thing is homesteads. And but they have now 30,000 of these homesteads, but it's basically all homestead. There's really not much commercial to it. So if you looked at it with them, they wouldn't see as great a need because the end result is you don't have all the commercial. But when they look here, y'all don't see it, but you have commercial all over the place. You have offsets of buildings where you just can't get to it and get on that building because just the offset alone. That's what a ladder truck was all designed for. These tools that were done, they were never designed to just have a fancy way to have a truck, because NFPA, which is a private organization who oversees all fire throughout America and has done it since the 1800s, they're the ones who came up with the ladder truck design because they wanted to have a way in any place that had commercial buildings to either immediately put water up onto a building to try to minimize the damages being done by this heavy fire load so they can get this business back open again, or they want to have it for rescue. And it can make a huge difference. You had a fire here that if one could have gotten here within 4.5 minutes, which it would have from here to there, it would have probably had a huge effect on the difference of whether the fire stays in an initial fire. In other words, like if you're in the basics of the fire, or if you go into what we call an enhanced, a full-blown structure fire. And that would have been
Courthouse fire.
Courthouse fire.
And the two
Yes.
things that, so am I understanding you correctly that you're saying in a world where we're all constrained by finances, $1.5 million, let's say, for example,
Mhm.
spent on a top quality burn building, training facility, would be much more impact on, there'd be a much larger impact on the ISO score from that versus, say, a ladder truck or platform truck or anything else. Is that
No, the ladder is actually greater than that. Ladder was
3.7.
3.64 or 6.7, whatever it was. It was, in other words, if we flip back to that, and we look at our points on that, the ladder truck only earned 0.36. It could have earned 4 points. So no matter what you do, the ladder truck would earn more than that just because it's sitting here.
Okay.
Because you've got vehicles that are going. There's never been an issue when it shows your report they have a vehicle they tried to put together and piece it together to make a service truck. And so their goal is like, well, if we can make this into a service truck, that's got to help some. It did. That's how you got your .36. But they won't classify it as a ladder because it's not a ladder.
Okay.
It has no elevation capability.
Is that the
Yes, sir.
same whether it's a platform or a ladder?
Ladder truck.
That they just want a ladder truck. Yes.
So they don't
want a
care
ladder
about a
truck.
75-foot platform or.
75 or greater is all it needs to be. Yep. 75 or greater.
It's gotta be.
And how much would the building be? You said 0.36 out of 4 we're getting on the
I need
ladder.
to, no, but I need to give this, Josh, can you come up for a second? Josh, what have you found so far about that? There are many companies you can get like Drager, different ones that come in and actually build it. Yes, sir.
No, I mean, how many points?
Before we dive
Oh,
off of
points.
this, if we could fit it into our budget in order to get a ladder truck
Yes.
and a burn facility, we should be able to qualify by my math to a 3 pretty easily, just off of those two.
Oh, I
areas.
agree.
Yeah, those two areas will put
Yes.
us into.
Oh,
a-
absolutely.
Minus and I'll talk about needing like 10 firefighters a shift and all that. I read in here where we can get PSO credit for any public safety officer that is on duty in an emergency
As
vehicle.
long as they're trained in fire.
Correct.
Yes.
So if we dual rated our police officers in,
Yes.
in just mod 1 or something, we
Yep.
should be acceptable for that.
Well, we'd already tried that and it didn't work.
Well,
It did work.
it does work. We
It
just can't give them
work.
both retirements. That was the only hitch.
Yes.
Yeah.
They can
You
still
can have to
respond.
both retirements.
Yeah, so they can still
It's double
respond and
dipping.
give us credit. They just don't get qualified for the firefighter pension as well as the POAB. But
Right.
with notwithstanding, from what I can tell, based off everything, and I come in late, so I'm just trying to get a summary and catch
Sure.
up. If we get a burn building, we get a ladder truck.
Yep.
We're in great shape for a 3.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
That's all I'm doing.
Yes, sir.
How long have we had?
We gotta figure out about
budget?
that.
We've
How
done
long
lots,
have
we put it in.
Yeah, but
I think it's in this clause.
It's in SPOS 5.
We
Put it in last
$1
year?
million.
No, we put it in there when we built
We made
the
steps.
26, 27, 25,
We know
26.
that.
Didn't Boykin say he was gonna help us build it for less than 1.5?
Yes.
I
So
have,
he
He just built one in Statesboro, I think.
yeah, so, I mean,
Hinesville?
My whole thing is how we pay for this. I mean, what I'm hearing is you're lowering commercial insurance premiums off the backs of residential ad valorem taxes.
Yes, sir.
Basically, I mean,
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna pay greater ad valorem taxes for a burn building. I mean, 1.2 million is more than we collect in an entire year.
This is right.
That's sales tax.
Well, whatever. I mean,
No, it
whatever
is
we're
different.
buying out of.
it's already passed. We're already-
And it doesn't have to be done now. I mean, it could be a 3-year plan. If I'm not mistaken from what I read, in 2 years, we can call ISO back if we have a ladder truck and
Yes.
we're in the process of trainings caught up and they can come back and rescore us,
That's how
correct?
we pay for it. That's my issue.
Yeah, we put that in SPOS, but we talked about it. It's actually, we don't have
It's
to do
not-
that way, but I know
There's
it's
not
not.
enough total in SPOS though. There's not even enough in, we didn't put enough in
It
there.
ain't there
We put
yet.
half a million in
it's not there as of today. We only have
$800,000
$800,000 in SPOS 5 as of today. So that was a plan, from my understanding, from the SPOS 5 was decided on.
Budget, we
That was
needed
over a 6-year period that
5,
we would
yeah.
collect over $9 million.
Yes.
And then we would allocate $1 million of that to do a public safety training.
And it should be more than that too.
I got a question.
Well, you had
Good.
renovations,
I-
you
I
had
got my
renovations to
notes at
Station
home, but I
1
don't
was $1
remember
million,
that.
and then you had public
Yeah.
safety
Yeah.
training facility.
So
I thought
what I'm
we-
hearing is we don't have the money to get it in the next year. All right,
We put aside for-
if we buy a
Oh, that was a million.
platform truck that's 5 years old and they're out there,
Mhm.
serve the same purpose.
It's gonna be 700 or 800.
It would. The only thing is you need to be prepared that your maintenance bills are going to be higher because, and also the other thing is, I always try to tell everybody, when you buy used apparatus, the only thing you want to be careful about is that you need to feel comfortable that if you went and bought a Hertz rental car, you're okay with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you have no idea what, because I can take a ladder truck and like go bounce it down dirt roads and destroy it in 6 months. See it all the time.
We don't,
And so your problem is you're buying something that you really don't know how they took care of it.
okay, I got the answer to that.
All right?
We buy one, it tears up in 3 years.
Yep.
Then we go get a brand new. We buy one that's 5 years old and it works for 15 years. Think of the money.
That's right. I agree with that. I agree with that.
I agree with that, but how many of y'all honestly, for your day-to-day drive, this is not an emergency vehicle now, this is day-to-day drive. Or no, we'll talk about with the sheriff's department or police department. How many times do you go buy them used vehicles? Or ambulances, how many used ambulances do you get? Because it should be no consideration difference in a fire department, just because it looks like
How
it's more
much money
expensive.
did
But
Jack
you look at
Knowles save the city of?
our ambulances, I mean, our fire
Oh,
trucks
you
last
started
25
years.
years. So
And
they
we
last
should
a
ought to be
long
buying them
time.
now.
We're
We
not
could
comparing
save a bunch of
apples
money.
to apples. The fire truck sits in the station.
Yep.
Ambulance goes every day, every,
The worst thing that happens with a vehicle, as far as that you need something working well, is something that doesn't get used a lot. If you take your camper at home or whatever you do and you let it just sit there, the maintenance on it goes out twice as fast. So what I try to tell people that we always have to look at, my job is to always tell you what I see from doing this all over the country versus conceptions that can happen. And the problem is when you buy a new one with a warranty and all this other, and you've treated it a certain way the entire life you've had it, it is going to last and be an investment for a long, long period of time. But if you buy something used, I mean, I can let you go to many places. And well, first thing I would challenge anybody to realize that if you're buying something that's used like that, why did they get rid of it? Because they're going to have to pay 3 times the price. No, I mean, that's what happens. In today's world, 5 years goes by. So all of a sudden now you have to pay 3 times the price you paid originally. Well, what would make you feel so uncomfortable you needed to pay 3 times the price if you're going to replace it?
Commissioner Morgan's
Let
asked,
me
hang on,
finish my
Commissioner Morgan's
question.
asked
Barry, let me
for.
finish my question.
Okay, go ahead. Very seated.
You're not too familiar with the way city adjustments work for the last 25 years. That's the way you have bought
Not
a
financially, no.
ton of surplus property with 60,000 miles on it. I'd show you 2 green Chevrolets that's got 250,000 on it now still.
These were emergency vehicles?
We bought a bunch
These
of
were
them.
vehicles
No,
that
emergency
traveled
vehicles
every day.
have to
Hold
work
on,
the exact
hold on,
moment.
hold on. I understand emergency. I've been in that business forever and a day.
Okay.
You know that. But if you get one, and Ralph found some, if you get one from a city that has bought one and realized that that's not what they wanted, you know, it's just like, basically like a new truck. Look, I love used vehicles, especially in government, because I did with Wayne County, I did with the city of Jessup, saved a ton of money.
A bunch of them.
Mike's junk. All right, here's another question. I have 4 leads. I'm sorry, Peg. But what is the maintenance on that truck? You talk about the maintenance and the upkeep. What is the maintenance on that truck?
If you treat the truck properly, you know it's been treated right, which I know it will on his, as you've seen with your other vehicles. You basically have an NDT test that you do every 5 years, which is going to end up being about $2,200. And you end up with an annual test that you do on them that's about $1,500, which is what they call. And so that's one problem that's totally different than us and private. When you buy something, these have to go back to recertification every year. So everything has to be right. It comes in right, has to stay right. I mean, it's like, there is no, these are run through these tests by NFPA on purpose because they want to make sure that this is not an excavator or backhoe where somebody goes out there and you just rebuild the boom kind of thing. This is not like that. This is, people's lives are involved in this 100%. And so, and you see, I'm very passionate because I've been a fire chief all my life. And I know, I've seen what you're talking about, and I save money. I mean, I have an excavator, bulldozer, backhoe, all these different things at my house. I didn't buy any of those new, but I don't use them on a daily basis. If I had a commercial construction business, and that's what I did for a living, I can assure you I'd be buying decent equipment out there that I could depend on 7 days a week if that's what I needed to make money. But this is the same thing because his firefighters have to require and believe in this to keep them safe and to make sure that whoever they respond to, they're safe. This is one of those things that I mean, I'm all into saving money. I'm with you 100%. And he's going to agree with whatever you say. I mean, one thing I've seen with your chief is the chief's like, I'm going to do what they say. I mean, that's what it is. He backs it 100%. But he does see things though, like I see, because we've seen the horror stories, and that's the only thing. Yes, sir. I'm
Hang
sorry.
on. I've got
Gary.
Harry's asking.
Oh, yes, sir.
Got a question.
Yes,
How,
sir.
how often,
Yeah.
you said that if we get that 75-foot truck, it will make the points. Will we get points for that 75-foot truck?
Well, when you test is when you get it. But what they want to see is what this thing says. Let's go to another page in this book. Let's go to page 29 of the fire suppression rating. This is how they build the test. And if you go to page 29 on that, and you look to the bottom of the page, you'll see this is what ISO expects.
Hang on,
First
Skip.
thing it
There's only
shows-
23 pages in it. Where you at?
No, it's on another page.
No, that looks like,
The
That's
next-
what-
the
No,
big
it's a
packet.
different packet, it's a bigger one.
that looks
Yeah,
like
so-
trigonometry. What
This is
kind of
actually what
form
builds
is
the
that?
test. This is where the test comes from.
Ah,
These are
yes.
the rules of
Better
the
get
test.
Schumann in here to get that.
We're there.
And the rules of the test show on there, it says the responding fire department must provide enough ladder service to ensure fire, as far as the response goes, of at least a ladder company to all alarms or structures. In other words, it doesn't say like you can pick and choose or send whatever. It has to go to everything. In other words, this is a requirement in there. If you want those kind of scores, this is what it has to do. It has to go all the time. So immediately it would start gaining, showing that it's being run. And then that's what gives us the credit or having the credibility with ISO to prove that, yes, we deserve a better score. ISO requires that you can only bring them back after you've done major improvements. A small improvement, they go like, well, you can wait till your next thing 5 years later. But if you make major improvements, that's a totally different deal. A ladder truck, a facility, it's major improvement. So yes, but you still need to be able to have this thing running. That's one of the issues here. It needs to be on the ground and moving where we can show that, yes, we are going to deploy this. It's not just a fixture. I also brought in here too, some other things to kind of give you an idea. If you'll look at this really quick on the back of this.
Skip, before we move that, I have a question from
Oh, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Keller.
According to ISO,
Yes,
only ISO,
yes.
is there a difference between a used and a new ladder?
No, it could be 100 years old. They don't care. As long as it passes tests.
Okay,
Yeah.
Ms. Scott.
Let me just say something too for the benefit of our new people. Mr. Deal and I've been in this chair on this side of the table since 1990. Mr. Deal and I have had a love-hate relationship for a number of years. I'm the one that made him city manager. I'm one of the ones that
Is that where he loved you?
was instrumental. Yeah, and then I fired him, and then he fired me, and now we're back on here together. But I will say this much about Mike: something he and I always agree on. This man literally wrote the book on saving money.
Oh, I know
If you
that.
want to,
I agree with
I
that.
mean,
I'm sure, yeah.
he's better than anybody that I've ever seen as far as squeezing the thing, and so. I should have recognized that and never got rid of him at the county, but
Well, if you'll look at this page on this right here, and you'll go to the back.
On that.
I brought up some cities so you can see what the other cities do. Cities similar to size or smaller than you. Because I thought you'd need to kind of see what were their decisions when they're making. And one of them right off the bat was Sandersonville. Everybody familiar with Sandersonville? 5,000 people that live in Sandersonville. It's about half the size of y'all. If you look on there, they have a ladder truck that was bought brand new that's sitting in their station. It's been there since 2021. We did their ISO. And then you flip it over again, and then there's another one. Well, this is one that saved money. This is Sylvania, city of Sylvania. I took them to a class 2. They used to be a class 5. Before they brought me back in, we changed it. Now, what did they need? A ladder truck, and you see it sitting right there.
that thing's
Their
old.
population is,
That ladder truck's old, isn't it? The one that's.
it is, that's why we were talking
oh.
about that. If you want it, but now.
But it gets the
they'll
same
tell you
answer, right?
Maintenance wise,
Yeah.
they're paying for the price of a new one with the maintenance.
But I mean, it doesn't have to last 20 years. Like he said, if we get 3 years out of it, we may potentially pay for it.
I agree. That's your direction, then that's fine. Here's another one, Hagen, Claxton, Evans County, they've got one ladder truck. And then you flip it over again,
But I
then you go
think the point
to,
here is, Skip, is that we need a
Harlem.
ladder truck.
Huh?
I think the point is with this new use, we need a functioning
you
ladder
do,
truck. That's the point, right?
At a bird building.
but
And a burn building.
If we buy a used ladder truck, we'll have enough money for a burn building too.
Look at
Well,
it.
well, this ladder truck, and I think Josh is saying, yes, this ladder
Got two
truck,
say here.
what
No,
you
that's
said,
Mr. Deal's
will
idea.
go to every fire that we have. How many people does it take to operate?
basically, like on anything that you do, engines at a minimum require 2 coming out the door at a minimum, and then the ladder, most people will line it up with 3 coming out the door at a minimum. And so, staffing wise, I think that you have enough to staff the 2 engines and the ladder. So that's that, because you're sending the service out now. I mean, you're already sending the vehicle out.
Have that it costs $200,000 a year to operate a ladder truck. Is there truth in that?
If you buy the wrong one. I'm just telling you, that's the truth. I mean, I've seen people have to go in and change the turntable out, because there's two things happen. Number one is you cannot
Be a
tell
process.
anybody that a ladder truck doesn't have damages if it does. So your value that you paid on whatever it is goes to zero. As soon as you, and I mean, Bertha, Colorado will be glad to tell you that they have one. I mean, all it takes is the turntable to end up with a crack in it because somebody bounced it down these dirt roads being stupid. And your ladder that you went for at $350,000
We have no dirt
is
roads to see
worth
out there.
40 grand. No, but I mean, this is, you don't know what they did before you. See, that's the
I
illusion.
got
How
you.
many
You have no
fires-
idea what was done to it
Can't you
before you got
inspect the
it.
truck?
Yeah.
You can
Yes.
totally control it with y'all. I know that y'all will keep it long enough that it'll last 25 years.
Why can't we inspect the truck? Like if we find a user, why can't we have it inspected?
The inspection's not gonna tell you, that's like saying today I can run and I'm doing good, but that doesn't mean I'm not a cholesterol limit
That's
that I
it,
won't
right.
pass
That's
out
this whole time
tomorrow.
we're trying to talk him into wanting to buy a truck. and-
How many,
I mean,
how many fires do we have a year? John? Trucks or fires?
A year.
That's y'all's decision.
How many alarms do you go to? Fire alarms?
No. How many fires do we have first?
Fires, we had 19 last year, just in the city.
We're
Okay.
running the EMS service is what we're running.
But now
Well, you got.
No, but how many,
Count.
that's why you have to tell, how many,
alarm calls that you have to respond.
those are fire, they come in as fires. How
How
many
many
did you have
times you
of
go
those?
drive to Davidson?
I wouldn't know much on
Yeah,
that.
no.
It would be in the hundreds and hundreds. Yeah, they have actually a busy house, y'all do. I don't know why it's so busy. We've always kind of wondered that, because I mean, as a community,
We're running
I
all
guess it's
these
just because
EMS calls.
there's so much dense population in the city.
Killing
Josh, how
themselves.
many of those calls would require a ladder truck versus an engine?
Well, you wouldn't take it on
Take that
52.
all off.
We have to take.
You have to take them all.
Regardless of
what
its
this
character,
says.
what
So
would,
you're
what would
sa-
we need?
Excuse me.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So you're saying that the ladder truck responds to every fire call,
Everyone.
even if it's a structure fire inside city limits, the ladder truck is going to go.
Inside the city.
So
Inside,
you're gonna-
Why
It-
can't he
it-
change that?
inside.
inside the city.
You don't
Going
have to-
outside the city would be very, you would have to be very cautious where you do that. That
Well,
it's
most
possible
of
that
our
structure
big
is paved road.
structures are, we have some downtown, but I mean, industry
Well,
wise, it
it's,
would
it's
be
not
outside
just
city
about
limits,
hot,
correct?
it's about over too. So
Yes,
you're gonna
and
take it.
the
to
fire
residential-
load.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
You're
another
gonna take it
thing we need to talk about really quick.
Yeah,
One of the
that's
things
important,
ISO said,
Yeah.
if y'all can go to page 13 on this page,
I know.
Why are you?
ISO requires that if you have a 3,500 gallon a minute fire load, and there's a document that we added on the back, we go to page 13 on the original document. But ISO requires that if you hit a fire load of 3,500 buildings, that you have to have a ladder if you have 5. Well, we went through the batch reports and he made a copy for you just so you could kind of see it. And right off the bat, we blew through 5 like it was nothing. You have huge fire loads here.
What were
And
they?
so the ladder truck is required for that because on most of these huge fire loads, if you don't want an entire block to go down in the wrong wind, they use the elevated elevation to either build water curtains or try to extinguish it.
The ones you used for Justin, you said it was 5. Where were they?
It's
They're-
on your paperwork.
it's-
Where is it?
Josh, you
It's on the
said
front
19
page
fires.
of
Is that city and county or just city?
No, city, only city.
City.
Yeah, the county's not graded on this at all. Doesn't have anything to do with it.
Oh, where's my packet? I have them highlighted.
That's right.
Can you show it to them up there?
I just don't quite
Maybe he's
understand
gonna
why he.
walk you through a piece of paper
It's in
that,
this one, Josh, right
If
here.
the city manager has
there it
to.
is.
If the
There it
city
is.
manager has the
It's
fire
gonna be
chief
your
not to
first
take
page,
it, why
guys.
do we have
Flip
to
up
take
to your
on all
first
these fires?
page.
Can't Josh decide where he wants to
Unity
take it?
Church of God, Calvary Baptist,
None of them pay tax.
Harris Ace Hardware,
Well,
Neesmith
that's the good one.
Chevrolet. No, not Unity, Coley Electric, Station Bar and Grill, Goodwill, RWP. And then there's a Benz Tobin Company,
That's the.
Mall.
Yeah, that's a.
Is that the plaza at Kmart?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So there's your list inside the city limits.
Hey, Josh,
Were they,
when we do the inspection again, we have met these requirements for CAT. We should get those points as well.
I mean,
So-
those
so-
are over 3,500
It's changed.
plus. I guess
So-
if it goes down when you go on down to Barger and Cern Electric, which was 2250. So I guess the ones I named were
And that's just
the
a
high,
portion- That's just
yeah.
a portion where they.
Yeah, that wasn't all of them.
Flow test.
yes. And if you look at them, majority of them are Sunset Boulevard and Cherry Street.
Commissioner McCullough, to answer, Skip and I definitely sat through the entire ISO rating.
Yeah.
that we just had. And we actually, that was brought up, the improvements in dispatch, the continuation of improvement in the water.
So
We
I
obviously
just
didn't
went
listen
through
to the
and
radio
found things
system.
that I knew we had better since this was done, and just wanted to bring those up.
And she also was giving us, preliminary conversation around giving us credit for
Correct.
our contract that we had
Correct.
provided for Station 2 and both the fire track contract.
Well, that we just voted to not do. Yeah, I got you.
Well, not really.
So,
Hey, Skip, so about the burn building, so we
Yes,
talked, we beat this truck to death, but on the burn building,
Yes,
what requirements do we need to meet to get the numbers we need?
minimum of 3 stories. There's a NFPA 1403 that tells how the thing has to be built. The biggest thing on the burn side, you have to have a below grade and above grade fire, and it's part of your training. And so that'll be 2 burn rooms. They have to be totally integrated inside, where they have these burn panels, look like something out of a space shuttle. It's on the ceiling and the walls and the floors. Perfect time to be building this, because all these rules have just changed and yours would be compliant. We're seeing all over the country, all these burn buildings that were built 30 years ago now are non-compliant. But the thing is can they be retroed? Sure they can, but it'd be a whole lot easier if you started from scratch doing that, because it'd be cheaper in the long run than it would be if you had to go retro a building and then you still have that older building. Basically, would have the smoke capability where you can go in and you can smoke out a room, but without getting carcinogenics on your clothing. And at the same time, we'd have the capability where you could put a ladder up top, and then you work that ladder and ground ladders to get people used to it. The problem with our craft is a lot of times these things that happen bad are like at 2:00 in the morning, and they're having to do it by muscle memory. There's no time as a fireman to really be thinking a lot of this stuff through. You have to be trained so well, you just do and you function. And it's like, everything is in place, but you can't do that without repetitiveness. And so the reason that they're trying to encourage y'all to do this is because they know that repetitiveness will end up leading to less damages overall and probably less injuries, or could end up being a life safety issue. Remember, ISO is protecting all insurance, not just homeowners. Remember, when you're insured with your vehicle, that's insurance. When you have medical insurance, that's insurance. They're all tied into this entire thing. They're actuarialist. That means they cover all lines. And so they're trying to come up with programs that are not just helping the property value side, but it's helping the entire health of a fire department.
Any other questions about
Yes.
Yes.
going back to the ladder truck, I know we're talking,
Yes, ma'am.
and then I have questions that I just wrote down on the burn building. Basically, what's your square footage that ISO normally requires for a burn building? Is there
The land has-
standard?
Yes, ma'am. The
Okay.
land has to be at least 2 acres.
2 acres, yep. what I had said.
Most buildings that are reasonable built are built on Connex box style. And they will usually have a 2-row, which is going to be basically 16 feet on the bottom, on the outside, roughly 17. And they'll be based out by usually 53 feet. From there, you go up to, smaller ones where we'll go to a 40 and then a 20. And they're stacking these things on top of each other, and they're making all these walkways and rails and all these different things, and a walkway at the top. And so that's how they're building the building. So it's really not like you would build this building with a set of plans and you would just, because it's too expensive to do that on these kind of buildings. So they learned a long time ago the cheap way to do it would be to take Connex boxes and then you build like an entire community, because that's basically what we're doing is we're replaying residential homes, commercial buildings, emergency escapes. I mean, all these things are all pre-designed into that building. And
Have
that's
you
what
seen the one
smoke is
that Boykin just built for Hinesville?
That's the one I was going off
Sir?
of, yeah.
You seen the one that Boykin?
No, I haven't seen that one yet.
Okay,
Pretty
that's
nice.
why I was wondering if that
Pretty
met
nice.
what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen that one.
Second
So
question.
I have some pictures on my phone though, if you'd like to see when I just came back from
We're doing
Texas.
time.
I mean, they have one of the, can I borrow my phone? They have probably one of the nicest I've seen set up in a long, long time. But it's basically, it's the kind of building that you would want, but the problem is that you can get to a point where you're they spent $2.7 million on what I'm about to show you. And there's no reason for something like that in a community like this. You'd be totally wasting your money because
Man,
it has capability that's beyond financially needed. And so you try to design the burn building around the fact of what its usage will be.
Skip, hang on a second.
Yes.
I was just gonna mention, Captain Mason, you know, before he transitioned over here, he helped design the one that's in Hinesville, which is how me and the chief found out,
Right.
you know, who helped them. And so we facilitated, you know, some conversations with Mr. Boykin, to talk about, you know, us designing one here, and he has assured us that he can meet our
What was the cost on
standards.
that one, Nick?
The one in Hinesville, I think he told me it was around 400 to 500,000, and he's assured me that we can be somewhere. Again, that'll be dependent upon the cost of materials.
Was that,
We can be,
Start building the mall.
and will that meet our need?
Wills.
well,
Rock and roll with that,
This
then.
is, that's basically what a building would look like.
point, right?
That's kind of your design, except this is a lot more extensive than you need. You don't need one
Can the
that.
police use that too for
They
training?
can. They actually do that quite a bit of times where they'll use it for, you know what I mean, different setups.
Like role playing and
that-
stuff?
Yeah, shoot, don't shoot.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Skip, you're,
No, no, no.
speaking about the ladder truck, yeah, it's pretty cool. How much training goes in is required for our firefighters to learn to drive, operate a ladder truck?
It's 18 hours per year that you use at a facility with whatever ladder or whatever you want to do. But then driver's training is 12 hours a year. They're required, they have to do 12 hours a year. And that's where you get the driver operator training. Yeah. And usually what most
We already
places
have
will
some
do.
Trained to do that, correct?
What's that?
We already have some trained?
For ladder?
Yeah,
I didn't have
We
any
got
idea.
a couple of operators.
yeah, that's what I thought. You had a couple.
And usually what you'll do is you'll find certain, like on each shift, you designate an engineer because ladders drive much easier than an engine. But because they're so much more complex, you usually qualify the people that you want to be the manager level.
But you say they have to go out on every fire to
Yes, sir.
meet the standards
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
of the ISO.
Yeah, because even if it's a resident, they want the capability, if they need to, that they can go over the top of the home and be able to take that nozzle and shoot it down and whatever they needed to extinguish the fire. All it does is expedites how fast you can do things. Because I can mount, in other words, set the ladder down on its legs, boom it out, and have it ready to fight fire in usually about 3.5 minutes. I mean, that's very fast.
Now, in
And-
an area like the Jessup where we don't have much underground utilities, are they hamstrung by the light poles and stuff?
You have to be able to run it by, in other words, when you go to raise, when you preset where you park the ladder, that's why you have only so many people that you let drive it initially, because it's very special. I mean, most of y'all know I fly single engine, multi-engine helicopters, and I mean, you have to walk before you run. And like when I've got my daughter out there learning in a Cessna 150, that's a whole different technique than all of a sudden we get into a Malibu. And so ladders are the same. Initially, you're only going to have so many people that will operate that thing because of what you just described is having to be careful with it. It takes a much broader spectrum in your mind. But we run into that though with ladders, like when we're having to do ground ladders and things and to pull them off our trucks and on now. But it is a very specialized vehicle. It can do amazing things. I mean, I believe in ladders because I've been on the end of it too many times when it's done great results. But the end result is it is very specialized. That's why for most people, if you don't have a burn building to train at, it really hampers the ladder's operation.
Commissioners, y'all have any more questions?
Yeah, I got
Yes, sir.
one, two, one for Josh. How many volunteers do we have now?
Right now, about 3.
You've gone away.
We hired the majority of them full-time.
Yeah, didn't we go through a thing where we were asking them to show up for training and
Yeah.
couldn't get them to when we lost
Well,
them?
let's recruit some volunteers.
We had to take one
Yeah.
of the 3 off.
I mean,
Tim, I like that. Let's-
There you go.
Yeah.
All it costs us is a little workers' comp and some,
Here's the other question.
Yes, sir.
yeah, that's nothing, $10.
Yes, sir.
Be a class 3,
Yes, sir.
and they own a ladder truck, and they
Yes, sir.
got 16 firefighters.
volunteers, no
It's
staff.
because the fire load that they have and the area that they serve is much smaller than what you do. The big things that they serve that has any kind of value is basically out by the highway, out there at 16. And so when you look at it, because that's a part of their deployment analysis, that is really where they needed it more than they did inside. But they don't have we have 2
Hospital, schools.
motels here right off the bat that, qualify requiring a ladder right off just for rescue or fire. They don't have anything like that out there. They have like restaurants and those type of things, but everything's single or 2-story.
All right, let me ask you one other question. A lot of these departments are city county departments.
Yes, sir.
Could we be more effective in Jessup, Georgia with a city county? Is it time that we look?
Consolidation?
Mhm.
I mean, I'll be honest with you.
We got both brothers now.
I know.
No, but the issues that you have is you have to decide, okay, so if you're having financial issues now with the fire department, how is that not going to be worse as you grow exponentially and become so much larger? And you
Well,
look
you
at their
got-
budget versus yours, and you see that you're not integrating any budget that's going to do anything for you. But you're going to have this massive area that you're going to have to cover, and you're
We
going to have all
already
these
are.
other stations
already
and
covered.
trucks and,
I got that figured out too.
do what?
We cover that now.
With a engine, that's their engine. That's a design
No,
for.
that's
No,
our
no.
engine, that's
No,
our
No, no,
engine.
theirs is, that's assigned to the county.
What-
That's
what-
our
what-
response with ISO.
Our trucks are our trucks. They don't have.
Yeah, they don't have that. Yeah.
How many trucks do you send to the county? Thank you.
But I mean, it's
That's
just,
it.
but we can send whatever we
Same.
want. It's,
Well, you
You
can,
it's
can, but
not their
that's
truck.
not, again,
Yeah.
everything has to fit in guidelines of how you do all
All right,
this.
I got the answer
I
to
I
that.
know, but if Rainier's on fire, we're not just sending one truck, are we, Josh?
No, that's
So send
totally
one-
different because that'd be no different if you had a 747 crash in the middle of your county. You would send everything it took because that's a what if fire. That's not a normal fire. I mean, that's, so you do whatever it takes. And you can do that. I mean, but if you started sending all of your apparatus out of the city, we ran into that one time before with the county where you're going to have not enough equipment here. And y'all may not remember this, but y'all were going to lose your rating. You were going to go class 10 because you were sending too much out. That's how all that came up. All these things that are laid out, there's a reason behind it. It's not happenstance. It's like it needs to be this way to function and make your scores do well. And if you start changing around basically that recipe, then I tell everybody, you wherever you end up will be where you
Right.
decide.
If we would decide at some time that we're gonna have a Wayne County Fire Department, and that's what I think needs to happen. The ISO rating would be different for the city of Jessup than for the county.
Yeah, because you'd be collecting in all theirs. It's done all the
No,
time.
no, whoa, Wayne County.
No, but you go to
Wayne-
Daisy and Evans have the same rating. And then you go, I mean, like as you bounce around to these cities like Hagen and all, they're all the same rating because they come out of the same fire department. You can call yourself all the different names you want, but if they're all the same
We got the same
responders and the
rating
same
now,
equipment,
don't
they all
we?
get the same rating.
I'm talking about if the total fire department was shifted over at one department with Wayne County.
Mhm.
Wayne County would have a rating and the city would have a rating?
No, because you just said you're one department. Everybody wants to do that. And there was a time when we used to do that. We could actually do it.
Well,
ISO's gotten better than that. They know now it's the same department, same people, same training. So why would they be different numbers?
okay, so you're talking about it costs more, surely it would cost more. But Wayne County is bearing that burden now, and we could, there's several ways to do it. We could swap the service, is what I always wanted to do. And we could pick up a service that they're paying a mint for, and I have that service in mind.
I like that idea already. I know
And
what
then
you're
your class
talking
3 is gone. You can forget it. That's it. It's done.
Why?
Why? Because I just said you're going to take over all their fire loads
No,
where they
no,
don't
I'm
have
not
water
gonna
out there and all these other
take over
issues.
anything.
They're gonna take over the city.
And they're gonna get.
No, it'd be the same thing. Then fine. So you're going to be called Wayne County Fire. That's great. Then it's the same thing again. Then that means all your citizens and all the residents are going to be hammered because they can't meet the
County's
standard that
fire.
you do.
Yeah, but no, you tell them to start with. You got to put enough money in it to meet the standards that.
That means you have to make every one of their fire stations up to a class 3.
But you just said the rating between a 6.5 and a 4 is very little difference.
Well, if the commercial doesn't mean anything, then we're all talking about this for nothing. Y'all need to decide that right off the bat. Are you really interested in solving the commercial problems that people have here?
Right.
The people that are paying these massive taxes, or is it just a residential bedroom community? Because that's a total shift. Y'all need to make that decision. Which are we going to? We're going to be an all department. That means we cover everybody. We do where it's all fair and everybody gets treated the same. Or are we going to have a tier system where if you're commercial, I'm sorry, that's the way it is, but we're going to look after the residents because they vote. Because that's how it happens. But I'm just telling you, that's the way it is. My job is to tell you the truth. What you need to hear, not what you maybe want to hear. Because the end result is, I'm telling you, These people come into your city and spend money here and all because of these businesses. Take them away and see where they go to spend their money and get your SPLOST tax. Because it won't be here if you don't have the commercial.
So if we had Wayne County Fire, it would automatically go to, what are the,
Five.
So the
He's
city
saying all
gets a
their
five.
stations, when, and he
No,
says that,
you're
we
talking
all know that they
5%
just
on
build
residents.
lots of stations.
hold on, are you telling me that Wayne County cannot get below 5?
I did Wayne County for 20 years. I can tell you all about Wayne County. And the problem with Wayne County is Wayne County doesn't have your water system. They don't have hydrants all over the place. I mean, they're all spread way apart. Stations are 25 minutes apart.
All right,
I mean, that's what you're
Okay.
dealing with.
all right, good. You answered that. All right. But it's automatic that there's only one rating. We couldn't keep our class 3.
What I would recommend on that is if you want to go that path, is that you go to, we write a letter, it goes to Mike Morash, tell it to him. You're looking at consolidating with the county and that you're trying to maintain and make sure that your rating is going to still have the opportunity to go to a class 3 and that they're a class 5. And so when you grow together, is that going to make it just as easy for you to become a 3? And I think you'd be surprised what you hear. I mean, this is all I've done for 32 years. I've been
What you
consulted all
think?
my life,
What you
basically.
think we're gonna hear?
You're going to hear that you're going to be 2 separate ratings. You're going to be a rating, all right. You're going to have a class 5 and then a class 9. So you're going to have all these people out there that are running around beyond 1,000 foot of fire hydrant, which could be in city 2. They're going to be a class 9 because they're over 1,000 foot. And then you're going to have your class 5 or 4, let's say, if they went to that, because they have a good department. There's no question on that. They're only limited because of what's built. They're limited by their infrastructure. I mean, it's not because there's a good fire department where they won't respond. They do that. But the end result is that department has always been limited by infrastructure.
Jamaica County.
But here's the thing. Why couldn't they run it just like we run? We answer all of their calls. Why couldn't they keep all of the infrastructure and everything?
That's my question. Why don't they
can
come
do it.
answer
They
calls
can
in the
review-
city?
I
We're in the
mean-
county just like
Can we
unincorporated
raise
people.
hands right here?
And
Sir?
I said, can we raise
This
hands
is a
right
work
here?
session. Let's put
Um,
some free
Yeah, we,
flow
st-
ideas.
well, we still
Same
want to
to
be
me.
raising your hand and be respectful.
Not in a work
to
Well, I
us.
did for a
Commissioner-
while.
I know you talking, Mike.
37.
You had the floor. I'm just talking about, somebody else just butting in.
Commissioner Morgan, you got the floor, and you're right, though, that we are supposed to get recognized before we speak, even
Well,
in the
he's
work
a
session.
fireman, so let's recognize him.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was a fireman and you couldn't be one.
let's go on, guys. Let's stay with the subject.
What's-
Try to
what's
get
the
that
question?
retirement.
All right, I got a
You
question.
want
I
no
got a
retirement.
question.
Come on, Tim.
I got a question. Why would we want to get a fire department to the county and we got a good city fire department here in the city? Because, the county, I don't think the county benefits is better than the city benefits. And the city officers the city fire department's gonna lose out if we was to get that fire department away.
if you roll back time, you'll see that the city's always been protecting the county because they started as a fire department before these other county departments ever thought of. So y'all have the benchmark in setting the pace in this community of a quality fire department. The county then started building stations. I was involved with that, trying to expand out ISO ratings. But the problem is they knew that they were up against residents that have 500 gallon minute fire loads. And so it was a lot easier to try to redesign some of this stuff when you're dealing with 500 gallon minute fire loads versus your 3,500 gallon minute fire loads as your basis. So the end result is, if you merge the two together, can you do it? Sure you can. But I mean, in this community, when I look around with it, what I see here, it's classic. It's like, why do you have a police department? So the police department just needs to go away because you should let the sheriff do it and y'all don't need it. You can cut services all day long. You can turn around and say, well, fine, we're not going to do, garbage anymore. We're not going to do this, but who's being helped by that? Because the last I knew, when I sat in positions where you are, is that I was there to help the citizens. And if I'm making a decision that hurts the citizens, that's not a very good decision. And how do you improve yourself? Because that should have been the question I heard. How do you improve yourself by bringing the county as the overseer? How do you improve yourself?
That's what I said initially. The only way that I would do it is if we stay class 3. They got to run it as good as we do.
Well,
If they don't, I'm not for giving
they're hurt.
anything away.
That's what it
I'm for
is.
saving money.
I understand. They're just hurt. They're being penalized because they don't have your infrastructure. They don't have your past background where y'all started a long time ago building these water department and the sewage and all these. I mean, y'all are so far ahead. I mean, you're in a different league because the work y'all done in the past has built great things. I mean, there's no question about it. But I mean, but to look at their departments and to think that y'all are going to make them one, and then they're all going to run like different or something. I mean, only two things happen anytime this ever done. First, I've never seen it work. If you can find it work, I'd love to see it. The only place I've ever known was Jacksonville, Florida. They went to a consolidation and they made one government. And if you want it to work, that's why it's got to go. One government. You get one government, then boom, you can make all kinds of things happen because nobody else has a choice because it's all one government. But even then, Jacksonville was hampered horribly on the outside as far as trying to deliver services out into the county, into the rural areas, because they had no infrastructure. Only because I designed a plan that put tankers together did it work out to where we could do a 3-tanker today. 3-tankers show up on every fire, I don't care where it is, anywhere in the city. And that's what allowed them to have that class 1 where we move our infrastructure with us. But to do this, you need to understand they have a $240 million budget. Now, the cool thing is for a city like that, they'll show you the documentation. They're saving their community $280 million.
Skip, so what you're
So the
saying?
fire
what
department
you're-
basically costs nothing because they're saving them more money.
So what your suggestion is that we should annex the entire county?
No, my suggestion is if you were going to try to bring the fire department together and you want to make it work, then I guess that's where you need to head. I mean, because you have a template. It's right there in Jacksonville, Florida.
What I
on the other
see
side
we're
of
doing
the
right
Florida.
now is we go primary to every call in the county. We're protecting the entire county now.
With
and
one
I-
engine.
No, sir. I don't think that's right. We send.
We have the reports.
We
We'll be
don't-
glad to
we-
pull
we-
it up for you. He'll
Do
give
we?
it to you.
We own all the trucks in that station. So how are
If
we?
you deliver
They
all
only
your
send
stuff, that's
one-
what we were in
one
before,
unit.
you'll go back to our class
But
10.
they
We've
don't
already
own
been
the
through
engine.
this.
We own it, right? So it's an engine, yes, but we own the engine. They didn't.
But you can send one engine and not hurt your department
Oh, yeah,
training
that's not
right
what I'm
here.
saying. You're implying, it sounded like you was implying that we're sending, they provide the engine and we send them that engine.
But
We
you
provide
said,
the
I
engine.
can send all the engines. No, you can't. If you do that, then you just killed your rating.
No, I wasn't saying that.
Okay,
I was saying that
Say
we
that
are
we
providing
respond
service
to
to
their
them at our
Right.
cost.
yeah.
That's what I was saying.
There is no question that they benefit from your existence.
Great.
I know they do. There's no question about it. I mean,
Can you tell them that?
well, I have actually.
See if
I
you
did.
can get them to
And
start
that
answering
didn't
calls
turn
from the
out.
city, because we're in the county too.
But I agree. I mean, I'm just telling you. I mean, I've absolutely been up there and said that.
The same contract that calls for us to go into the county is worded exactly the same way that their service is supposed to respond to calls here, and it does
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, you're right.
So, okay, we get, is there any more questions for
So I
Skip?
assume you put this packet together, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
We're
Who
good
are
on time, Mayor.
your recommendation?
I'm
You
not
say
rushing,
your
but I'm
annual
trying to see if they have
maintenance
anything.
cost for a ladder truck, a 75-foot ladder truck.
I
You
put
got
that
it out.
together.
You put that together, Josh?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's, right now
And the
we're at,
company, who owns this company?
Bracket Fire. They're actually at the fire station right now doing pump testing, so these prices are.
Skip, thank you. You've
as
been
of-
very informative. Appreciate it.
These prices are as of yesterday.
I know y'all have a tough job,
No, you
but I'm just trying to be the advocate.
Hey,
For
one thing I wanted to
improvement.
mention, because I go to a lot of these meetings with them, is that, St. Augustine built, and I've been into some fabulous burn buildings and not so much.
I'm sorry, who are you? Can you tell us who you are?
I
This is
am,
why.
Miss Starling.
Nathalie Starling, she works with us. She's
Well, I
our
can't
office
read.
manager. She also does our scheduling, basically runs our shop. She has a PhD and has been she's retired now. That's why she's able to go with me. Been in education
but
35
you
years.
guys, I think your city manager, is for some of the rest, you've been doing research on the burn buildings, and we're all about saving money for communities, and we want the best and safety. But St. Augustine, they took off and built this wonderful thing, and then you don't have to deal with the unions like we do in other places. Some people, some and this, that, and the other, they had built this wonderful thing, and it got in the newspaper, and they had to tear it down.
The entire
Talk about
building.
Waste of, financial resources of the community because they didn't get a permit.
Oh,
So make sure you check all the
entire building.
boxes when you purchase your property. and
City
get your
property.
Permit.
City
also
Because
issue
you have a
permits.
disgruntled
we-
That's why-
citizen.
Mr. D, I like your idea of getting a contract with somebody.
Yeah.
And it's their responsibility.
What you got, Josh?
Well, I mean, that we're still friends, you understand?
Oh,
I
always
appreciate
remember,
everything
I'm
you
passionate
said.
about things, but I'm
I
actually
am
here to
too.
help you.
I am too.
And I appreciate all y'all done, because I know y'all done great things.
You know, I respect you for all you know, because we work together forever.
Yes, sir.
When you get, and I want everybody to know that my passion, Rick, is all in sport.
Yes.
But I went
I
one
know.
step higher and I
That's
got into the money trade. The reason this guy just told me,
I think my dad was a banker, so I understand where you're coming from. I mean,
Order SOP.
he was like, same thing. I mean, it's just some things over the years you see doesn't turn out quite like it's thought to. And sometimes it does. I mean, it does. And I buy used equipment. I mean, I have a bunch of heavy equipment because we use it in my work. And if it goes good bad, I just get another one. But I'm not relying on it 7 days a week. That's the problem. But you have done great things, so I appreciate that on both sides.
It's debatable.
that's the third time I've.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Starling.
Yeah, thanks, Skip. What you got, Josh?
Thank y'all so
Thank
much.
you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mrs.
Thank you,
Starling.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, so where you asked about the information on here, the service for the vehicle, same motors in the ladder truck is what's in the engine one, which is the 23 E1. So annual service, roughly $1,030. That's changing the oil on all filters twice a year. That price is off of filters we just purchased last week for engine one. Pump testing, same pump as in the truck, in the ladder truck is what's in the fire truck that we have, so $225, and then they do the annual pump service at the same time, which is additional $85. So if you're looking at $1,340 on an engine right now, where a ladder truck, you would basically have to add the cleaning and lubing of the ladder, which is $2,000, and then the annual test of the ladder, which is $850. So you're looking at $4,190 for annual maintenance on it. And then every 5 years, the non-destructive testing is $1,300, and I got prices of tires. The same tires are basically what's on engine one that we have right now. So 5-year cost, if you had to replace the tires, you're looking at an additional $5,000 on it.
Josh, on this truck, last week we locked up on the vote. Can you talk to us? Can one of y'all discuss the contract situation?
I'll let Chief.
Okay. I called Fireline, I'm not sure what day it was, one day towards the end of last week. I called them back to find out about the information on the contract, told them what the situation was. They pretty much told me that we're past the point of canceling the truck. So we'd have to purchase a truck, and then it'd be on us to sell it if we wanted to go.
So we're locked in. We can't cancel out of it.
This truck
We could
is,
sell it if we want to. We can't lock. We can't. But we got.
we can't cancel. This truck is probably, right now, it's probably, I'd say 80% built. The ladder is actually built. It's not attached to the truck. In the last picture I seen, the cab, the pump panel, they just got to put the ladder on it and put the rear body on the truck. So it's
Mr. Cockfield.
very close to being done.
Yeah, Mr. Connor, could you tell us what our options are as far as that, and also elaborate a little bit on the idea, the argument that one commission cannot bind another commission as a legal precedent? Would you tell us about that?
Yeah, that's a great point. So the city is like any other entity. In fact, we refer to cities as municipal corporations under the law, and it has the capacity to contract and to enter into agreements and those kinds of things. Moreover, our charter specifically provides that the city has that authority. So we've entered into a binding contract. So then the question becomes, well, how do we get out of it? The only conceivable way that we could possibly get out of it is the concept, it's a constitutional concept, providing that one city council cannot bind a subsequent council in matters of legislation. That's the language. So the first question you have to look at is, does this meet that one council binding another? It's an argument that it might. Firefighting and the apparatuses needed for firefighting is clearly a governmental function. So there's a distinction made between governmental functions and proprietary functions. If we were talking about equipment, for example, used to run a water park like Bullitt County does, they've got a water park, they charge for that, they make money on it. If we were talking about equipment for running that would be a proprietary function, and the one council binding another prohibition doesn't apply. But when it comes to strictly governmental functions, that exception can still apply. So that would be the thin reed that we would travel under. However, as everything else with Georgia law, there's exceptions on exceptions. And there are 4 exceptions that my prediction is we would have to litigate about. So assuming that we establish that purchase of the fire truck or the decision not to purchase of the fire truck is a governmental function, and therefore this council is not bound by the prior council's decision to contract to buy the truck, the first exception that the manufacturer would raise is, are we stopped from making that argument? And estoppel is one of those things where the court looks at things and decides as a matter of fairness, has the city done things that would, in fairness, it should be a stop from relying upon that principle. And that's a coin flip. I'd say that's 50-50 kind of thing. I will say that the law on estoppel has actually gotten a little bit better for governmental entities in the last I'd say last 10 or so years with the Georgia Supreme Court. But it's a matter of fairness. I'll say this too. The longer this council lets this issue percolate, the stronger the argument of estoppel gets. In other words, the longer we let this go without making an affirmative decision, if you wanted to terminate the contract or try to, the harder the estoppel agreement is to make. Because again, they're working on the truck. And if we allow them to continue to do things, knowingly allow them to continue to do things, it builds a stronger estoppel argument.
So the 2 months into this term
Yeah.
doesn't have,
Yes, sir.
doesn't make,
It makes a difference. Yeah. And the more time that goes on, the stronger argument they would have that estoppel applies. And similarly, there's a similar concept called ratification, meaning that a new council can actually ratify the decisions of the old council by conduct. And that's another argument that they would make. It's very simple. It's very similar to estoppel. Ratification is a little bit different in that you say, well, okay, we'll just kind of rock along with that. So you kind of make a tacit agreement or decision that you're going to just go along with the contract. So they're going to raise ratification. The third thing that they'll try to raise is that this is a proprietary function, which, as I've said, I think we can probably get around. But those are the 3 things that we would have to litigate about.
so I was not talking about the 2 months to the completion of the truck. I meant the 2 months into this term.
It's a fair point. Same thing. And I think the longer you let that period run out, the stronger the estoppel argument gets. So yes, it's a valid issue. And the longer we let it go, the more of an issue it's going to be. So if we're going to do something and try to get out of it, we need to try to do that right now.
What's your opinion where it'll fall?
I think it's 50-50 at best to get out of it.
Yeah.
I just say this, when you think about it, a judge confronted with the issue of estoppel is going to be, we've terminated one contract, went into another, now we're going to terminate another. She is going to, my prediction is, look for any conceivable way to apply estoppel. That would be just as a matter, again, if estoppel involves fundamental fairness kind of considerations, that would be a thing as a jurist I would be particularly
The
concerned
burden of
about.
proof is against us.
Sir?
The burden of proof would be against us in litigation.
I think it's 50-50 at best our way.
And what would this cost? Okay, so we do this. We already spent 20-something thousand before. What would it cost to litigate?
Okay, so here's the issue. So let's say it takes you 50 grand to litigate the case and you have a jury trial, okay? The damages are sort of a sliding scale, okay? So this would not be a situation where the judge or the jury says, okay, you got to buy the truck, and we buy the truck. That's not what's going to happen. They're going to try to mitigate their damages by selling the truck. And whatever loss they take on the truck, that's what they would try to sue us for. So let's say, for example, we contracted to buy, and I'm just going to use easy numbers. We contracted to buy the truck for $1.5 million, and they could only sell it for $1 million. They're going to try to recover that $500,000 against us. We don't get the truck. We just get stuck with that loss of the bargain standard. That's the standard of damages. So that's what you're really playing with. I'll say this. There's a case that came out of Pooler that went to Supreme Court last year. another case that came, I think it was out of Chatham. Both those cases went to the Supreme Court and were actually favorable to governments on the estoppel issue. So it makes it a little bit better argument. The other thing that they'll try to raise is that our charter creates a express opportunity for the commission to enter into long-term contracts. I mean, we have a lot of language in there about being able to contract and buy this and buy that. But there's a case, again, this one came out of Pooler last year, where the Supreme Court has said it's got to be, the language in the charter has to almost match exactly the contract that you're talking about. So we may be able to get around the charter, the charter authorization argument as well. But yeah, I'll just be honest with you. The equities of the situation favor them, and I just think a jurist would.
Even if we win, it's gonna cost us to litigate. So
It's
if
probably
we
50
win,
grand.
probably 50,000. If we lose, it could cost 50,000 plus 500,000.
Whatever, and I don't know what they could sell. I mean, they would be obligated to mitigate damages very clearly. What they could sell that truck for on the market, I have no idea. But that's what the gamble is.
I would say it'd be more than what we paid for.
And I know you said it'd be
Well, they
previous
keep
cancel, cannot hold current cancel to, well, there's two of us that are new. Are these sitting here, 1, 2, 3, 4?
It is a new
Five.
entity regardless.
So it's a new, it doesn't matter that they voted yes
It's a
to
new
purchase.
entity
Okay.
regardless.
And let's
That
keep in
was my
mind, the
question,
prior
because-
commission, I mean, this was 3 commissions ago that originally
Okay.
ordered the
Well, I just-
platform.
Correct.
The prior commission didn't have any problem with canceling that and ordering a whole different truck based just on those same arguments, what you're talking about.
What?
I don't understand how it's changed. That's-
Well, I think the difference is, it's really not what happened. The difference is we paid a termination fee and agreed to buy another truck.
Yeah.
So that's.
We honored the agreement. Yeah, we honored the agreement.
We really did.
On its face. Yeah.
Paid a termination.
Rather than
fee,
taking the
agreed to
risk,
buy.
why wouldn't we just go ahead and buy the truck and sell it if we don't want it?
Yeah, we can sell it ourselves.
That's right's right, wrong's wrong.
Do that.
Yeah, because we do.
I
Word,
think
our
the
word.
commissioner from the 6th district said it best. I think that's what a judge would be most concerned
Said,
about.
yeah.
Right's right and wrong's
Wrong.
wrong. You've gone to those people twice, signed a contract to buy a truck 2 different times, and now you want to renege. Look, we can make these technical arguments. They're very technical. And look, local government law is full of technicalities, and we got a doggone good shot at pulling it off, but
As
judge,
you go for.
And I'm here to say this to each of us. I think we just sit here and listen to the gentleman with the ISO tell us what we need. I know everybody on this council's main concern is to provide the services we're here to provide for the city of Jessup, get us the best rating. He said, in 2 years, he can come back, we'll have a ladder truck, we'll have what we need. If we keep the ladder truck or not, the thing is, it is something that we needed for our station. So move on. We have money in the budget that we're working with Mr. Boykin to build a burn house for training. So we're doing what I feel like is our job to do to bring us to the rating that each and every one of us want. And I just feel like us not following through and purchasing this truck, which is what we need to get the rating we all agree we need to have. That's all I have to say.
Okay, Commissioner Kelly.
So, Mr. Houston, I watched the video of the last meeting, and you were asking for some clarification on how we got to where we were at. And it was my motion that was put forth that we did it. So I kind of want to give you a little bit of history of that and give my comments on where we're at, and we'll go from there. So when I was elected to the board, there was about a half and half vote, which it wound up being anyway, about a split vote that didn't want a truck at all, and then a split vote that wanted to buy the latest, greatest, most expensive platform truck that we could afford, right?
That's right.
So we were kind of in those two areas. And personally, I didn't want to spend the money on a truck because I wasn't convinced that we would get the return on investment in the ISO rating. Since that's been explained to me a little bit more, I think we're there. I think where we can spend money in 2 different areas to get the burn building, the training facility, and the truck, and we'll get the rating that we're looking for commercial relief from fire insurance, right? So that was a little bit of ignorance on my part where I thought the fire truck wouldn't really yield that result. So I made a compromise and said, okay, so we won't spend as much money. We'll save a few $100,000, close to $1 million, but we'll still get a truck. So I was trying to kind of find the middle ground when I made that motion. And then it had enough to carry with a split vote, right? So that was kind of where I came from. I was trying to save money and still get a truck and find some sort of balance there. But what I will say is I'll echo what she said with, we've already entered in this contract again. We've broken one contract with them. We've got into another contract. I'll be honest with you, my personal feelings on this is I don't want to pay for that. I want to buy a used one because I see that we have a responsibility and a burden to be very financially savvy with the money that the taxpayers give us to spend, right? And so I think the best use of that money is to buy a used ladder truck and to work with a local contractor to get a facility to train in. So we tick both of those boxes, get the ISO rating we want, and maybe can get the higher platform truck that the fire chief and all the firefighters want to play with. So we could get that nice truck maybe on a used budget for cheaper than what we're spending now. But I think we're kind of at a point where we've got to honor the contract that we've got in place. And if we choose to sell that at a later time, I'll be on board with that. If we choose to get that truck, turn around and sell it on our own, and then take that money to try to buy us a used platform truck, which is what I'm guessing is the pinnacle of what everybody wants.
I mean, it just has more capabilities.
Right. You can do more with
I mean,
it.
we're
So
gonna
look,
get
I
the
get it.
ISO points we need with the.
Yeah, I totally get it. If I'm buying a gun, I want with all the attachments and the suppressor and the lights and lasers. I mean, I'm with you. So I want to do more with it. I want a toy that's nice and shiny to do things with. So I still think there's a compromise out there, but I think right now the option that I feel is the best is for us to honor the contract that we've got in place, get that truck, then we can make a decision. It saves face for our reputation as far as we're going to stand by our word and honor what we've said. It doesn't run the risk of us paying for litigation that we then turn around and lose anyway. So now we've got a messy legal battle. We've done business with this company for how long, Mr. Deal? Forever. We've done business with this company. I have a feeling they're going to keep doing business with us as long as we've got money. So I don't think it's going to hurt us, but I care about our reputation as well. And so I think that where I'm at right now is that we revote on this issue and honor the contract that we got in place. Then we have a decision to make with an asset that we have that's real in here, and we can make a decision what we do with that asset at that point in time.
I'm glad you
That's-
explained that.
To bring that up to.
That's,
If I
when you
could
asked that
add-
question, that's what I told you then. Mr. Morgan, you got the floor.
Yes, I'm with Commissioner McCullough on the contract. You know, we just keep want to cancel contract, Your name is all you got. And after a while, when you wear your name out, then you ain't got a name. So I just think we should honor this contract, go ahead and buy this truck. If we want to sell it later, and be done with it.
Can I add something about this truck? This is going to be a new apparatus for the city of Jessup. This truck comes with, I don't have the exact warranties with it. I mean, it comes with a year warranty on the paint. Comes with 5-year, I think, for motor, transmission, 20-year on the ladder. But it also comes with a week's worth of training for all the personnel that have it.
So we get training knocked out.
Yep, training, initial training.
Commissioner Houston has the floor.
I just want to say, when I was trying to get understanding of the situation, I understand the decision to cancel the last contract that the commissioner beforehand felt was the right idea. I didn't feel like that cancellation was right. I felt like, canceling that. But another thing is I was trying to figure out what decision will be best in the long term for the citizens. At some point, we have got to make the decisions for the citizens that's going to help generations after generations, and not just now, and not just save money. Because it's a lot of saving money, but sometimes saving money over quality is not the answer either. Another thing is it does change the situation if we can't cancel. That wasn't brought up in the last meeting. And I think, like Heather said, Commissioner Heather said, we need to, right is right, wrong is wrong. But at some point, we have got to honor quality over saving money that's going to last generations after we're gone.
Commissioner Cotfield, you have the floor.
Yeah, I wish I had heard these same arguments 2 years ago about our reputation and saving face and our name's all we got, because if we had known that 2 years ago, we wouldn't even be in this position now. So apparently a lot of people have changed their mind in 2 years.
Anybody else?
Mayor, I just want to raise a point of order. When we voted we did not vote to cancel the truck. We only voted for me not to draw the money down from Georgia Fund. So.
And that didn't fail, it just didn't have enough to pass.
Correct.
Just different.
So I just wanted to make sure that we knew that we didn't vote to cancel the truck, and that wasn't on the table. The vote was more driven to us drawing the 1.3 million down from Georgia Fund.
And I didn't catch that last time. I apologize, but somebody said it failed. It didn't fail. It takes 4 votes to pass, 4 fail, and it got neither one. So it's kind of, it's like table. It just didn't go anywhere. Was that all?
And I'll just, I think with the credit that we have received, we'll have, some additional funding. I think we'll be able to maximize the opportunity of getting the training building started with the purchase. Again, that's you all's decision to direct us on how y'all want us to flow with that. But I've looked at the numbers and, again, I didn't receive this invoice the last meeting, so I didn't have the credit on here. But the fire chief provided me with that following that meeting. So we did receive a credit based off of the invoice that I have in possession now.
Anyone else? If not, we entertain a motion, I guess, to go back to motion to allow our city administrator.
We want to do that in the work session?
We do that.
I'm sorry, you're right. You want to wait till the meeting?
Yes, that's on the agenda in the next meeting.
Okay, good. All right. So is that all discussion on this then?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Check.
You got something?
No.
Yeah, did you have anything else, chief?
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
I got one more thing on here. It's on a different topic though.
You talking about the breathing apparatus?
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead with that.
So standard NFPA standards are changing on the air packs this month, and March 13th is the last opportunity we get to order the current air packs that we have. We got a quote for 7 new air packs. It's $90,768. We have $91,000 budgeted, and this is off of a Sourcewell contract where we can purchase them before the March 13th deadline and save some money.
This is an open meeting. We're allowed to vote on this, but I think our standard in the past has not been to actual vote on stuff in work sessions, just for transparency with the public. So I'd like to ask if the board's okay with this.
Can we move it to?
Yeah, just simply move it to add it. We don't normally add stuff to the agenda after the fact, but this is on the work session and that was published in advance, right?
Yeah, it was.
So can we
For the
move
work,
this
for
to?
the work session, and the reason why I posted it on the work session, because we would not have another meeting after the 13th until
Yes.
17th.
Right.
And so that's why we put it on the work session agenda.
So can we agree to move this to the meeting in about
No,
an hour and 15 minutes and vote on it in that meeting?
can you do that with it not being on the agenda?
You can, yeah,
So we-
our agreement is not to, if something hadn't been published, but this has been published.
So what the?
I did advertise this on the work session.
Right.
So
for
we can't
discussion
vote on
and
that in the
approval.
work session?
We can, but for transparency to the public, is what I'm saying.
Not watching?
Go ahead, attorney.
So, man,
Well, I was gonna say, so in terms of amending the
Maybe not.
agenda,
some people don't. That's y'all's choice. You want to vote on it, you can. It's open meeting.
The attorney talk.
no, you go ahead.
I'm just saying, it's an open meeting. We can vote on it, but our standard in the past has been not to vote on stuff in work sessions because people don't expect that. But that's y'all's choice.
But it's not on that agenda. So
You can put it on the agenda. That's up to y'all.
So here's the way the open meetings rule works. Open meetings absolutely requires an agenda, period, full stop. You can't act on something that's not on the agenda unless it becomes emergent and necessary that the commission take the matter up that was not on the agenda. You say, what does that mean? Not a whole lot of authority on it. The way the GMA has defined it is it almost is an emergency kind of matter. In this case, what I'm hearing is if we don't do it by the 13th, we're going to lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
So that would be the justification for putting it on the agenda.
Either way.
Yeah, I think you can do it either way. My only point
And let me
was,
say this, if we were not going to amend the agenda, then I would go ahead and vote this meeting because again, you're right, this has been a published meeting.
it is.
There's
it's
an
open.
agenda, it's a public meeting, been open to the public. And instead of the city losing a lot of money, if we have heartburn about amending the agenda, take a vote now, this meeting. Do
we
not
don't want
lose
to-
the
So
money.
moved that we
Take a,
purchase,
take a vote.
no, we purchase.
So you're making a motion to approve the $90,768. Do I have a second on
I
that?
second it.
Got a second by Commissioner Houston. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Morgan,
Yes.
Commissioner Houston,
Yes.
Commissioner Cockfield,
Yes.
Commissioner McCullough,
Yes.
Commissioner Deal,
Yeah.
Commissioner Allman.
Yes,
Motion passes 6-0 by the apparatus. Okay,
thank you.
all right, I believe that's all the agenda, so with that, we're gonna adjourn. Be back at 7.
Refreshments in the council kitchen if you go, if you're not leaving.
City manager.
Yes.
It's open. There's only 2 times.